17/20/24. Hope you're all doing well. Hello, Linty London and Sherry Hughes. Yep, you got it. Thank you. Alicia and Phil Strange and Andrew Cruz and Wonder Why. Hello. Barb in Ohio. Laura F. Larson. Mama Rages. Hey, thank you very much. Something to chew on. Bluesman Sonny Fournier. Nice to see you. James Brandenburg. Oracle 11. Cecilia Amarati. And Space Indian. And I think that's it. We have a small group tonight. Ray Clay. Hey. Shauna Howard. Sith Trish. Hi, Mama Rages. So, yeah, we've got stuff. That's a window I'll get to once I finish this window with an awful lot more. But yeah, very important, as far as I'm concerned, to keep up with current news, just to see. Oh boy, things are really getting to a boil. Boils are not fun. Never had one, but I think they hurt. Southern California residents left with destruction after powerful storms and winds. They were pop-up storms yesterday.
Mother Nature sends another damaging winter storm across Southern California, bringing trees down right on top of houses and dumping more than a foot of snow in our mountains. And in some areas, hurricane-level wind gusts and sudden storms caused devastating landslides.
Chris Wolf is live for us in Beverly Glen tonight, where a homeowner there is still trying to pick up the pieces after a mudslide damaged his property. Chris.
That's right, Rick and Karine. We had all of those pop-up thunderstorms yesterday with rain and hail and roadway flooding and, of course, lightning. The ground is still damp and unstable, and danger may still be lurking out there, but many people are trying to clean up before the next one. This may be a sunny Saturday. However, some Southern Californians are still surrounded by a muddy mess and without certain utilities, living somewhat primitively. Residents along Caribou Lane in Beverly Glen are dealing with the fallout from rainstorms and mudslides in early February, when a collapsing hillside washed a home right off its foundation, sending it crashing into the neighbors' houses across the street. The force of the flow quickly shredded the structure, pushing debris and furniture downhill. The home was unoccupied at the time, but neighbor David Christensen had a rude awakening around 2 a.m.
5 houses were affected, 6 cars were totaled, and not nearly a scratch on any human, so it was pretty miraculous.
How are you doing now, and tell us about the cleanup effort?
Yeah, the cleanup effort has been really slow. It took about 4.5 weeks just to get crews out here to start the work. So they're digging it out, but then they hit a water main, and now LADWP has to come out. SoCal Gas is saying they need 3 to 8 weeks of planning.
Across town in Baldwin Hills, some storm victims are getting a helping hand this holiday weekend. Team Rubicon is an international humanitarian relief organization based in Los Angeles. These volunteer, gray-shirted Good Samaritans reach out to elderly and underinsured residents in need. Mud and debris had smashed through the home of 80-year-old Floy Sims earlier this year.
Here again, the sharing and the caring, it still continues, and we feel so blessed.
And that has to be happening all over the place. The sharing and the caring and generosity, and we've got to show our best selves, always. Electric transmission build-out could cost Americans trillions of dollars. It's dangerous and it's costly. Americans, this is your near future. Do you really want this? Don't you think you should speak up a little? Just a wee bit? So I'm going to play this again. I posted this on my Never Lose Truth channel. But here's built not too long ago, 1995. You know, in the infinite scheme of things, it was not too long ago. And he's saying all of what everybody should be saying. And we should never have changed the narrative on that border. But we did, big time. And we're going to pay, we're going to pay, we're going to pay, and it's going to be a hard payment.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
Wow. It seemed that Democrats and Republicans stood up, applauded. They were all in agreement. What happened? The takedown of our country. That's what happened. By the way, while we may not sign treaties, we commit to treaties, and we're pretty much the treaty creator. Yeah, the United States. So, United Nations welcomes Biden administration commitment to refugee protection. That was sent to me by a subscriber whom I'd like to thank, and wow, already not receiving enough bandwidth for smooth streaming. Well, that's all I got. But yes, the United Nations Secretary General on Wednesday welcomed, this was 2021, positive steps announced by the new administration, Biden administration, towards migrants and refugees, while the head of UN Refugee Agency congratulated the new president and vice president on taking office, pledging to work with them to strengthen global support for refugees. It's all deliberate. This is not just an organic flow of migrants coming across the border seeking asylum. They're running from their, how many nations? 146 nations to come across the border. And, oh, that's right. It is a huge majority of military-aged men leaving their mothers, their sisters, their daughters, their wives behind in these war-torn countries that are so violent. I gotta flee. Good luck to all of you, but I'm leaving. Come on. It gets really Just so tiring to deal with Americans who just don't give a shit. Oh, man. Trump says some migrants are not people and predicts a bloodbath if he loses. It's hard for people to get that, yeah, he is part of the play. He says all the things that the red team want to hear, and even the blue team want to hear. So they don't pull themselves out of the matrix and look in to see that we have one team. No, they jump over to that team. And that gets really tiring as well. At an event on Saturday, ostensibly meant to boost his preferred candidate in Ohio's Republican Senate primary race, he gave a freewheeling speech in which he used dehumanizing language to describe immigrants, maintained a steady stream of insults and vulgarities, and predicted that the United States would never have another election if he did not win in November. Now, why would you say things that you know are going to so inflame the other team? Inflame to a point of violence? Because it's the build-up to the election, if we even have one. Oh, this I think is going to make 2016 and 2020 look like kumbaya, all of us. Let's embrace. They were pretty peaceful riots. It's gonna get really pretty crazy. New York's 14th congressional district, illegal aliens have created swap meets out on the sidewalks. New York City neighborhood, Queens, in AOC's district, blasted as third world conditions with illegal vendors, prostitution on streets, and widely vibrant and diverse communities of Corona, Jackson Heights, and Elmhurst in northwestern Queens appear to have descended into an open flea market. Like most of my like-minded residents, this is local resident Frias, a Democrat turned Republican who is running for the Assembly District 39 seat to clean up the community streets. She says, like most of my like-minded residents, we see this as a third world market. Frias, 43, said, basically, you just see clothes thrown across the floor. The items are stolen from donation bins or stolen from stores, and they just set up shop outside brick and mortar businesses. They take away trade from these businesses and don't pay taxes. There are no repercussions. They get a free pass. The streets have become overrun by illegal street vendors, while crime has been steadily increasing in the neighborhood. Good job, AOC. Good job. A budding Pelosi is what AOC is. And, yeah, so, Philadelphia, disturbing new footage shows homeless drug addicts lying on the streets, surrounded by tents and scattered trash. Very sad. Very sad. And the majority of these people are not illegal migrants. Maybe some of them are. But no, these are residents. These are Americans. This is what happened. This is what has happened to our country. New York City reaches deal to limit shelter stays for adult migrants. What do you think that's going to do? It's not going to be good, because when they hit the streets and they have nothing, what are they going to do when you have nothing? What do you do? Most people commit crime. Yeah. And migrant crisis in North Dakota?
Dakota is now home to refugees from Afghanistan and Ukraine. And overall, those refugees have been welcomed with open arms. Mark Martin shows us how the community of Fargo has embraced and supported those who have fled from their war-torn countries.
Nationwide, there's been a dramatic increase in illegal immigration along the northern border when compared to the past 2 years. Across the entire northern border, illegal crossings from Canada into the U.S. have increased from 16,000 to 142,000. According to Customs and Border Patrol's website, in the last 4 months, more than 1,200 people have been apprehended by North Dakota's Border Patrol for illegal crossings.
The U.S. state of North Dakota is one of the leading resettlement locations per capita for refugees coming to the United States. Every year, about 400 refugees arrive in larger cities like Fargo, where they are gradually reshaping the ethnic and cultural makeup of their adopted hometowns.
In North Dakota, additional North Dakota counties won't have to face a decision on whether to resettle more refugees, an issue that's drawn passionate responses on both sides of the issue. Burley, Grand Forks, and Cass counties have voted to accept additional refugees.
While much of the nation's attention is on the southern border, agents detained 15 people at the northern border today near Ninchy.
The Border Patrol says this makes 34 migrants detained in 2 weeks. Kirsten Mayday tells us more.
North Dakota is now part of a small group of states participating in the Skilled Immigrant Integration Program. It provides access to resources that can help new Americans better integrate into the community. Elizabeth Shores tells us when we can expect to see changes.
Data from the American Immigration Council shows North Dakota has a small but growing community of immigrants, with many coming from the Philippines. The council's latest figures show immigrants comprise 6% of the state's workforce in 2018. Immigrants accounted for 13% of the state's production employees and 11% of the residents working in the manufacturing industry.
More refugees, that's the word tonight from Lutheran Social Services. Valley News Live found out after attending for the first time a Refugee Services Advisory Committee meeting.
Thanks for joining us tonight. The statewide forum discussed, among other things, the projected number of refugees being brought to North Dakota. Valley News Team's immigration and relocation reporter Bradford Eric takes us inside that meeting.
Well, rumors may be circulating that North Dakota is taking in migrant children displaced at the southern border. The Department of Human Services says that is not the case. The department says it's been receiving phone calls asking if the state is housing unaccompanied children who arrived at the southern U.S. border. According to the executive director, the federal government has already ruled out the Peace Garden state as a destination for those kids.
For months, the U.S. government has focused attention and money on events along the U.S. southern border, and agents who normally patrol the northern border were shifted there. In December, they returned, but patrolling the northern border is no easy task. Crystal Quao reports on the challenges they face and the potential solutions.
Wonderful. Fargo needs an awful lot of diversity. We all know that, right? Philadelphia officer says the city is no longer putting up with the crime wave. Yeah, the mayor the commissioner and the governor said, we gonna do something about the theft. They passed new legislation that we're gonna go after people. Why did you stop going after people? Do you think that that was a really good idea? Do you think it was really good to implement that idea? And so now you're saying you're going to go after people? Well, that's proof that you weren't going after people and you just let crime spread. The people of Philadelphia should be very, very, very angry. So what will happen when they give the green light to millions of radicals to cause widespread chaos all over America? I've said this. Others have said it. Michael Schneider is now saying it. Violence and crime are already completely out of control all over the United States. In fact, you definitely wouldn't want to be caught in the streets when hordes of our lawless young people are running wild. If things are this bad already, what is going to happen if the election in November does not go the way that leaders on the left want or the right want, and they give the green light to millions of radicals to cause widespread chaos all over America? And I do believe that the left, the young left, are far more programmed to cause disruption because their leaders have been calling for disruption. Yeah, I think that we've got a small preview of what this could look like, well, during 2020, for sure. Have things gotten so bad that we need to bring in soldiers with guns to keep order on the subways, and it doesn't seem to be working because guns have gone off in the subway. People have been scared in the subway, even with the National Guard there. But apparently so, right? In Pittsburgh, the situation is so dire that police will no longer respond to calls involving theft, harassment, criminal mischief, and burglary. Between the hours when a lot of that crime is committed. What is it, 3 a.m. to 7 a.m.? Yeah. So if you own a home in Pittsburgh and someone is robbing you, what are you supposed to do? We really have reached a point in our societal decline where the wheels are coming off right in front of our eyes, and clearly people like what they see. Otherwise, if they didn't, you would see a different response from the American people. In Oakland, crime is so bad that 4 out of the 5 Taco Bell restaurants in the city have completely closed their dining rooms. It may not be easy for a lot of people to admit, but we are rapidly becoming a third world country. We're becoming a very evil, violent country. Third world countries don't necessarily mean what we're living here. Doesn't necessarily mean that the people are violent. It for sure means poor, and that's what we are. But we are fucking crazy as well. Theft is absolutely rampant in America today. Organized retail crime has become a multi-billion-dollar industry in the United States. According to CNBC, some of these groups actually have very sophisticated facilities that are indistinguishable from other e-commerce distribution centers. Our country has been totally transformed. Past tense. It has been transformed. If you think you're living in the same country, wow, you've created a very comfortable but delusional bubble for yourself. At this point, our youth are so lawless that even very young girls are committing acts of extreme violence. An article about the 50 most violent cities in the world. Nearly half are in the United States and Mexico. That's telling, huh? And if you want to, I can't even read that print, but the link is in the chat to a list of the cities. See if it gets bigger. Okay. Mexico, Haiti, Ecuador, oh boy, those dogs. Brazil, Jamaica, Colombia, United States. Ah, how sad. It's such a reflection of humanity. Not in very good shape. So, this is absolutely horrible. I think every black woman in London, I can't imagine that they wouldn't be offended by this representation of black women in London. Statue of fat black woman chosen to adorn London's fourth plinth. Yeah, pays homage to a young metropolitan woman of color. Will be featured at Trafalgar Square in London from 2026 onwards. It's absolutely horrible. And I do not think that that is representative of an awful lot of the black women in London. But everything has to be ugly today. Right? Look at this. Look at this. This white woman who's thin, smiling up. Congratulations. Justine Simmons, excited to reveal the winning fourth plinth artwork for 2026 and 2028. Lady in Blue. Wow. I think it's pretty degrading. I don't think it's realistic at all. And if you think it's only black women who are fat, wow. Really? Wow, you're wrong. St. Patrick's Day spending to cross $7 billion. $7 billion. Don't you think that we might be able to use that money for something, I don't know, a little bit more worthy as opposed to parades and drunkenness? Because that's essentially what Americans do with St. Patrick's Day. All of our holidays, we just become drunken jerks. See? I had so many curses in my head, but I said jerks. St. Patrick was not only a 5th century bishop and a missionary instrumental in converting the Irish to Christianity, but he is also the namesake of one of the most important cultural celebrations on the island. Originally a religious holiday, the Irish diaspora in the United States turned the occasion into a celebration largely divested from the liturgy and rather connected to wearing green and drinking Guinness. USA, USA, USA. Exceptional, morally superior, drink it up. Is anything sacred in our country? Was anything sacred in our country? Ooh, it's quite something. Quite something. Quite something. So, she couldn't have said it better. So, the Young Turks, and I ain't a fan, but on what's happening in Israel, what's happening in Gaza with the Palestinians. What happened? Here it is.
AIPAC dedicates an entire section of its file for members to rebuke the president's comments under the subhead, "Why is President Biden dictating to Israel how to fight this war while simultaneously demanding military assistance from his government?" Let me just pause right there. If Israel wants to carry out war crimes, they shouldn't do it with our money. But you can't, on one hand, demand that American taxpayers who are desperate for a better life here in America, they need to hand over billions of dollars to the Israeli government and the IDF, and we need to shut the F up about any of our critique. AIPAC is evil. AIPAC is evil, evil. My fellow Americans, are you okay with that? Are you okay with a lobbying group representing the best interests of a foreign government telling you you need to bust your ass every day, work a job that you likely hate, and have a portion of your earnings taken from you by our federal government and funneled to the Israeli government so they can commit atrocities in the Gaza Strip? Are you okay with that? Because I'm not okay with that. And nothing gets under my skin more, okay, than hearing these pieces of crap say things that make it clear that they feel entitled to our money. Entitled. That gets under my skin more than you guys understand. So let's get to the next graphic. AIPAC dedicates an...
The entitlement part is absolutely right. But you know, the U.S., we have a unique ability to commit atrocities all over the world without AIPAC. We're really like good at that. And do recognize, please, that Americans, Zionists, oh boy, we're in bed together. She's probably a man. I'm so sick of people saying, oh, that's probably a man. Everybody's a man. Oh, God. She's not a man. Okay? God. So, breaking. Niger kicks out American troops 6 months after evicting the French. Very good news. I'm going to link below to Richard Medhurst's video on this. Yeah, I think we're going to see more and more countries kicking us out. Israel plans to move Gazans to islands. It's true. Oh boy, I'm going to have to capture articles from the Times of Israel because I lose what I brought up. But yeah, humanitarian islands. So let's listen to Kim Iverson, and I will put the link in. There.
The IDF has said that they're going to be invading Rafah. Rafah was supposed to be where everybody was supposed to be safe. If you remember, everybody was in the north. All these Palestinians were in the north, most of them. Gaza City's in the north. And they said, evacuate, evacuate, evacuate. Everybody get south, go south, go south. They moved south. And then they said to the people, evacuate some more, keep going south. And they started pushing everybody to the Rafah border. Now, this is something that I said would happen, that this was clearly the plan from the very beginning, that they were going to systematically move people from the north all the way to the south and keep them moving and keep them moving, keeping them moving, hoping that these people will then flood into Egypt and that they will just be able to clear the entire strip and, there won't be any Palestinians there anymore. And so that'll be the end of that. Ethnic cleansing completely. Egypt is obviously pushing back on that. They're saying, no way, we're not going to do that. And so now the IDF, and you've got a lot of pressure now from the United States, who's finally coming forward saying, we don't think it's a great idea for you to push these people into Egypt. We're not really down for the whole ethnic cleansing campaign you have in mind, Netanyahu. So let's cool it on that. So Netanyahu says, I'm still going to invade Rafah. So now they've said, okay, well, what are you going to do then with all of these civilians who are in Rafah? You've got to move them somewhere. You can't just bombard them after you've told all of these 2 million people to go. So this is what they're saying now. The IDF says it plans to direct a significant portion of the 1.4 million displaced Palestinians trapped in Rafah towards what they're calling humanitarian islands. That's the new word that they're using for concentration camp. That's what that sounds to me like. What's a humanitarian island? They're saying that this will be in the center of the. So first, when you hear humanitarian island, you're thinking you're going to get rid of these people. You're going to move them to some islands. I don't know where these islands would be, but you're going to, make islands, build islands in the middle of the ocean. You're going to ship people there. That's what comes to mind right away because it's such an odd usage of the word. But then they clarified and they said, oh no, these humanitarian islands would be in the center of the territory. And they want to move these people before they do this Rafah invasion. They're saying, this was IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari speaking. He did a press conference saying that they would be turning to the international community to help build these humanitarian islands and that these islands would provide temporary housing, food, water, and other necessities to evacuated Palestinians. So yeah, sounds a lot like a concentration camp. You're going to be putting people in these little islands, otherwise known as camps, that they're maybe not able to come and go from. They're going to be given some housing, food, and water, and some other necessities, but you're going to keep them there, and they're temporary, is what they're saying. Why would they be temporary? They've already cleared the north. They said, we cleared the north. We did all the things that we need to do there. Now we keep moving south. Well, then let the people return north and start the rebuilding process. But they don't want to do that. So they're saying, no, instead, this is good. And why do you need to bring in international actors? Why do you need to bring in people? Why can't you do it? I mean, Israel's getting so much money from us. Why are they not responsible for ensuring that the people who are under their care, essentially, which are all the Palestinian people, they're under their control. So why aren't they rebuilding? Why aren't they looking at more permanent solutions? They're saying, no, this is still temporary, and they're calling them humanitarian islands. And they're asking the international community to come in and do it for them after they destroyed the place. Really bold of them to be making these claims and asking for that. But they are. So
Yes, and I'm not sure if she mentions this, but in the article that I read, Times of Israel, which is no longer there, they're talking about moving Palestinians now back north. Now, Gazans, they were told to go to Rafah. That was the evacuation zone. Now, because Netanyahu is dead set to boots on the ground, get in there, bomb the hell out of Rafah. And now he's telling these Palestinians, who are very weak because of the lack of food, to just walk now to the middle where there's going to be a humanitarian island for them. This is what our money is doing. This is what our weapons are doing. Yeah. USA could put a stop to this immediately. But we don't. Where is that? I don't know. So here, the BBC actually, Israel says it plans humanitarian islands for Gaza displaced. Israel's military has said it plans to move displaced Palestinians, they're already displaced, now displace them again in Gaza, to what it called humanitarian islands in the middle of the Strip ahead of any offensive in Rafah. Some 1.4 million people are sheltering in the southern city, Rafah, after fleeing the fighting between Israeli troops and Hamas in northern and central areas. It is not clear what the islands will look like or how they will operate, but the military suggested that aid and temporary housing would be provided. Israel has repeatedly signaled its need for such an operation, insisting Hamas cannot be fully removed in Gaza without targeting Rafah. They could move to humanitarian islands that we will create, and this was the chief spokesman for the Israeli Defense Forces, that we will create with the international community where temporary housing, food, and water would be provided. Oh, how fabulous of you. How wonderful of you. Are we supposed to look at these people as being moral or generous or what? So here, this is a map. Refugee camps, in gray, evacuation zones, Rafah, Khan Yunis, Israeli ground operations. Well, Israeli ground operations are pretty much all of Gaza. But they also have ground operations going on in the West Bank. So cars are in short supply now, as is fuel for them. So most people would have to walk, once again, carrying their belongings. Palestinians are hungrier and weaker than they have been in 5 months, than they were 5 months ago, which would also make large-scale movement low. The central part of the Strip, where Israel proposes to relocate them, has been badly damaged by repeated ground and air attacks. And our fabulous Secretary of State, Blinken, said, well, that he needed to see a plan to get civilians out of harm's way of any ground operation in Rafah and ensure they had food, shelter, and medicine. How sweet of you! Blinken, you're so good! This is so sick, it is beyond belief. It is so sick and evil that it's beyond belief that it's going 2024. This was the direction of humanity. Sitting back doing nothing was not a good way to operate in life. You got to get involved in what your leaders are doing, and if you don't, this is what you get. There is an international, this is what Netanyahu said, there is international pressure to prevent us from entering Rafah and completing the work. As Prime Minister of Israel, I reject this pressure. We will enter Rafah. We will complete the elimination of Hamas's battalions. We will restore security. And we will bring total victory for the people of Israel and the state of Israel. Battalions? Do we even know if Hamas has battalions? It's endless. But there are more and more Israelis getting out on the street demanding Netanyahu step down.
Election now to change the prime minister and the whole ministers. We don't believe them. We think they're not right. We think they don't do enough for the hostage. They don't do enough for the war. and we want to change them.
We're here to protest this government that hasn't been acting for the majority of people in Israel for a while now, especially since the beginning of the war. Whether it's the hostages or whether it's creating more tension between Arabs and Jewish people, we think it's actively harming us during the war and beyond it, so that's why we're here.
Ah, the young. Wisdom. You heard wisdom coming out of her mouth. It's only escalating the tensions between Arabs and Jews, and it's not good for Jews and Israelis. Yeah. Europe to arm Ukraine using profits from seized Russian funds. Do you believe that? I don't. They seize funds and then they steal it. And they either spend it on other things that they so enjoy, like the transformation of planet Earth, or they put it in their pockets. Taiwan confirms presence of U.S. Special Forces on islands near China's coast. Have you been noticing that we're hearing more news about going to war with China? If we do, if there are American adults who actually believe that China's our enemy, and that the U.S. and China are not working together to manufacture more war, at this point, I just don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. It's not wisdom, it's fear. I didn't hear fear. So, Robert F. Kennedy expected to tap Nicole Shanahan as running mate? Bryn? What? Like, this woman has experience? She's ready to step in as vice president? Look, she might be a little bit better than what we have now. But really? Sergey Brin's, founder of Google, so deep into CIA, and ex-wife of Sergey Brin. That's who Kennedy is appointing as his running mate. So this is just an expectation. But later on this afternoon, I actually saw articles where he's going to announce this woman who's got billions. So perhaps it's the billions that is the reason for tapping her as his running mate. I'm so glad I'm out of the Matrix. But wow, looking in, it's like, what? There's nobody else? Harvard Medical School professor was fired over not getting COVID. Yeah, that thing. This guy, Martin Kulldorff. He was fired. Others got exceptions. Other professors were exempted from getting the vaccine. He was fired. He's one of the 3 main authors of the Great Barrington Declaration. Remember that? Renowned, highly respected 3 authors of the Great Barrington Declaration that took to task the measures that governments were imposing during the pandemic. That's why he was fired. People are really suffering the consequences of speaking up. Housing affordability crisis solved. Oh, good. Sedona, it's solved? Sedona to let homeless workers sleep in their cars. That's the solution? Solved. You can sleep in your cars. Sedona, Arizona. The swanky city of Sedona, Arizona, is addressing its outrageous housing costs by creating a parking area so homeless workers have a place to sleep in their cars legally. 40 parking spaces. Just 40? Because I'm sure there are a lot more homeless in Sedona. But hey, 40 parking spaces have been designated. Oh, but you have to be working. Okay. It will be made available in a 6-acre parking lot at the town's cultural park, a 41-acre property that used to be a performance venue. The lot will be outfitted with temporary bathrooms and showers. To secure a spot in the lot, individuals must be full-time workers in the city. They'll also have to engage with social workers who will help them strive to find permanent housing. Strive? Strive? I guess you need therapy because you haven't been able to find affordable housing in Sedona. And you're working full-time, you're living out of your car because you can't afford to live in Sedona. So go to a social worker and they're going to inspire you to find affordable housing. Strive. People who are working full-time probably know how to look for housing. I don't know. Call me crazy. They probably don't need a social worker. Good luck. With the average house in the isolated town going for nearly $1 million. Average house. Sedona is a huge tourist area of Arizona. Rental homes oriented toward big spending vacationers. The desert paradise is unaffordable for many blue-collar workers. City officials reassured residents that the lot will not be visible from any of their homes, so they won't have to worry about inadvertently casting their gaze on the homeless workers who make their luxurious lives in Sedona possible. I don't want to see them. Residents worry the lot will become a hub of criminality and drug use. The lot is only for full-time workers. Doesn't sound like that lot is going to become, a hub of, drug use. One resident who fled homeless-plagued Portland for sanctuary in Sedona is already working on an end-around to kill the program. If the city does pass this misbegotten zoning ordinance, I've already prepared, and tomorrow I will file for a ballot referendum so the people of Sedona can correct that mistake. How dare full-time workers have a place to sleep? Wow. Wow. Sedona is extremely expensive. And it's, yeah, out of hand. And they expect the full-time workers there to, I guess, sleep in their cars way outside of Sedona. All right. The Y chromosome apparently is disappearing. I want to thank my subscriber for sending along an article that I was unable to get because of the paywall, but hey, got it. A whole lot of articles. The Y chromosome disappearing, vanishing. I'll post the link because I'm not going to read it. But you can find out what mainstream media is saying about the disappearance of the Y chromosome. Yeah, what it means for our future. XXXXXXX. The biological sex of a human being is determined by chromosomes that make up the baby's genetic material. And I thought, wow, mainstream media is going to actually state the truth, right? What's real. They're going to state the truth. But then I was disappointed. Females usually have 2 X chromosomes, while males tend to have 1 X and 1 Y chromosome. But research suggests that the Y chromosome has been rapidly degenerating over the course of our evolution. In fact, the gene may one day disappear altogether. And everybody will be transgender. So, all right, I'm going to play some of this. Insider exposes April 8th emergency. More you must know. Maybe I won't play it. Maybe, yeah, I'm just going to put the link in. You can read about it, but April 8th and the eclipse and the biological attack on April 8th coming our way, Department of Homeland Security, FBI, a whole lot are engaged. Training exercises for hospitals on this biological attack. It's hard to keep up. Hard to keep up. And will it happen? Who the hell knows? But I said, I think last night, you've got to be prepared for anything. Anything. Happening tomorrow, happening the next day. The ultimate crash of the economy, illegal migrants, all the chaos, violent chaos erupting, sleeper cells activation, weather used as a weapon, taking out a whole lot, biological attacks, the World Health Organization, their pandemic treaty is coming up to be signed in May, so whole lot have said, and I agree. This year, it will pass, and it shouldn't surprise anyone. It should not surprise anyone that if they do go the way of biological attack, they could bring in all of these scenarios simultaneously. We're not looking at a good future. Yeah. So, plan for that. Now, again, cognitive warfare, a battle for the brain. All right. I read the abstract last night. I can't link to this because it was a download It's on my hard drive, so you're not going to be able to access it if I put the link in. But you can certainly get this by putting the title. Let me just see if I can do it. What was it? Cognitive warfare? The battle for the brain? Am I right? Yes. Oh, come on. Why can't you just... No, I don't want to download it. Let's see if we can get it here. Nope. Let's see if we can get it here. No, I don't want to download it. So I can't get the link. But I will put the tweet in for you to download. It's not a very long article, but what this article informs of, all of this is going on right now. Cognitive warfare, information warfare, cyber warfare, defining cognitive warfare, principles of cognitive warfare, if there are principles, PSYOPs domain, cyber psychology, weaponization of neurosciences, brain as a weapon. This is a NATO document here. Militarization of neuroscience and technology. Military and intelligence use of neuroscience and technology. Products of neuroscientific and neurotechnological research can be utilized to affect memory, learning, cognitive speed, wake-sleep cycles, fatigue and alertness, impulse control, mood, anxiety, and self-perception, decision-making, trust and empathy, and movement and performance, speed, strength, stamina, motor learning. Oh, neuroscientific and neurotechnological uses can affect everything that I just said. Don't think that you're not being affected. How would you know if you are being affected? Because a whole lot of the changes that occur very subtly. How would you know? Do you know yourself well enough to know if you are being changed into something that you know you were not, but now you seem to be, and that's a way to fight against all of what is taking place. If you don't know yourself, and I think a whole lot of the awake crowd have no clue who they are you one of them? If you don't, you are so vulnerable to all of these weapons being used against you. And yes, Americans having a very difficult time distinguishing between fact and opinion, but they have had that for decades. And yes, all of the G's, all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all of the G's, extremely dangerous, making our environment with each generation more and more dangerous. It's not just 5G. So, and bioelectromagnetic weapons, the ultimate weapon. I will link below to this article if anyone cares to read it. But we've got ourselves into quite a mess, Ollie, and Jamie Lee. Okay. I'm still shocked. I'm still having difficulty really accepting that Jamie Lee is gone. And I'm also having difficulty accepting how severely he was targeted, because I never came across Jamie mentioning what he mentioned to a friend in an email, and this was released since his passing. And I'm going to read it again. Yes, I am. Because it's very important for all of us. Not only to feel for Jamie and others, dead or alive, but to recognize that they can take you out like that. I no longer can snap my fingers. Whoa, okay. My right hand, I guess. It is, I remember a time when our community here expressed far more empathy for others, posted videos on other people's behalf. I don't sense that anymore. Now, the whole idea of hearts will grow cold, perhaps that was God's warning, if you believe that those are God's words. Maybe that was God's warning to make sure that your heart doesn't. So, Jamie Lee was so big in this community, offered so much of himself without ego, so the truth was paramount for Jamie. Huge numbers of subscribers that he had before they started taking him down. I get a few comments from people who say, oh, they're so sorry to hear about it. But there's something off. I don't know if I'm the only one noticing that there's definitely something off with the Awake crowd. That it's really changed. And granted, I understand that there's an awful lot going on. And people, I'm sure, certainly those people who have been at it for years, are tired. Don't let your heart grow cold. Don't let your heart grow cold. People need support. But this is what he was going through, which is just, yeah. So, this was a friend of Jamie's who Jamie wrote to. Dear family, friends, and loved ones, all, I need to share what has happened and is still happening to me regarding the use of highly advanced technology to torture individuals. As I shared in my previous email, targeting and torturing individuals is growing exponentially, and this was from 2012, his Rumble videos. My individual attacks began several years ago when I released this 3-hour video, which is on Rumble, and it's a plain truth. That's the channel, and it's a 3-hour video of the all of the torture and targeting and it's touchless cyber torture. So then last fall I was told by our controllers not to release my book on AI, Takeover of Humanity's Souls Forever. Directly after I released it, the attacks started again. My throat at the high point bone was blocked. I don't know how to pronounce it, was blocked, where I could not eat and could barely swallow water for several weeks. I was bedridden and lost over 25 pounds. Finally, with the help of biomagnetism, I was able to swallow again and start eating and gained most of the weight back. I then got hit with other issues like feet swelling, hands becoming useless, cotton mouth all night when I tried to sleep, uncontrollable bowel movements, and much more. I am starting to build strength back very, very slowly, but I continue to be under attack, including voices in my head. I have been in a wheelchair not for over 1.5 years. I've been in a wheelchair for 1.5 years due to this that killed my brother David, took my legs, as I write in my book, Slow Kill. It is difficult for me to just get into the wheelchair. I need assistance just getting out of the bathtub and feeding myself, but luckily I have people here on the ranch to help me. Here is a partial list of what they have attacked me with. No appetite, food tastes bland, cotton mouth when I sleep, must drink water every hour, then pee. Itching all over my body 24/7, low energy fatigue, hematoma on left elbow, foot swelling issues, voices in my head, cannot focus very long, frozen fingers. These are more issues they use on others. Memory eraser, fake memory replacement, hearing the voice of God, an example of the many potential false perceptions impacted on the targeted individual, adherence to the cybernetic hive mind as revealed by whistleblower, ex-CIA engineer Robert Duncan, who had been a victim himself. Other political activists, brave whistleblowers include Dr. Catherine Horton, Brian Kofron, Nick Begich, Sabrina Wallace, Daniel Leibowitz, many more. Manipulation, alteration of thoughts, feelings, and emotions. The net effect can be anything the controllers desire. A targeted individual could feel like they're going mad. Frequency and resonance-based. The technology is directed at the body tissue, making microchipping redundant as people can be controlled wirelessly. The core of surveillance and remote control of the public is the human biofield, or aura. The deep state and its agencies, corporations, actually use people as nodes on their networks, called Wide Body Area Network and Personal Area Network. They are routing their data through your tissue and have the ability via wireless remote control of your biofield to stop your ability to think, quell your free will, and induce complete behavioral modification. Now, when I was posting on years of research and posting videos on the effects of 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, and what they could do with the extremely low frequencies, the mind control, the body control, and I posted countless videos showing documents, evidence, and I don't remember anybody being really alarmed. A whole lot of people would just say, well, we knew this was coming. Okay. Targeted individuals are those who the government, via the military intelligence complex, has picked out to harass, assault, and attack with advanced forms of invisible electronic weapons. 21st century mind control technology is incredibly advanced. We need to face the reality that military intelligence agencies worldwide can manipulate our thoughts, dreams, and emotions. These targeted individuals are being electronically stalked and harassed with directed energy weapons, scalar weapons, electromagnetic weapons, non-lethal weapons, which blast the victim's head with electromagnetic radiation. These assaults can insert voices into people's heads, which they mistake for their own thoughts, can induce severe negative emotions, depression, suicidal ideation, homicidal ideation, and can even cause paralysis and death. Robert Duncan has done an outstanding job in coming forward and exposing the true state of current technology, much of which he knew about because he was involved in creating it. Duncan mentions all sorts of scary sounding terms, such as the voice of God, synthetic telepathy, cybernetic hive mind. NSA personnel can dial up any individual in the country on the Signals Intelligence electromagnetic frequency scanning network, and the NSA's computers will then pinpoint and track the person 24 hours a day. The NSA can pick out and track anyone in the U.S. NSA agents in remote offices can instantly identify using remote neural monitoring, or EEG, heterodyning, any individual spotted in public who is in contact with surveillance subject. With special electromagnetic frequency equipment, NSA cryptologists can remotely read evoked potentials from EEGs. These can be decoded into a person's brain states and thoughts. The subject is then perfectly monitored from a distance. NSA personnel can dial up any individual in the country on the Signals Intelligence Scanning Network, and the NSA's computers will then pinpoint and track that person 24 hours a day. The reason I'm sharing with you is this is going to happen to all of humanity. I am just a lab rat right now for their beta testing before the big rollout. Jamie Lee. Still have not heard the cause of death. One could speculate, but that's all you can do. And it's this has been going on. It's been going on for a very, very long time. Evil for sure has taken over humanity. And again, I will say, very important to do the work on yourself so you know who you are. Don't just think you know who you are. If you haven't done any self-reflection, you haven't done any kind of, self-examination, and it doesn't mean you're going to spend like an hour thinking, no. It takes an awful long time to actually know even a little bit of who you are genuinely, authentically. A whole lot of people don't like to go there. They like to think good things about themselves, but what do they manifest? So, but you want to not be changed into something that you're not? You are exceedingly vulnerable if you haven't done any of that work. Yeah. So, here we go. Ah, yes. Once again, this baby. Naval Medical Research Institute. Bibliography of reported biological phenomena, effects, and clinical manifestations attributed to microwave and radio frequency radiation. And when was this? Sometime in the 70s? 71. October 71. Oh, our military know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing with all of this, with all of these EMFs, the electromagnetic frequencies. They know what the Wi-Fi is doing to everybody. They know what NexRad radar is doing. They know what those extremely low frequencies are doing. They know what that cell phone is doing. We've all consented to be killed. Kill me. Let me buy all of this technology. That, for sure, the awake crowd know, is a weapon used against all of us. Just got one. Always had that flip top. This I've had for about a week. I'm scared of it. There are reasons why I got it. Which I don't want to go into right now. But it doesn't matter. I sit at this screen pretty much all day long. This is a weapon. You know? We've cornered our own selves. Alright, so I'm going to put the link in just in case you don't know, which, well, one would hope that you do. But, alright, the link fit. And let's just go over some of this military research on microwaves. You know, Wi-Fi. Okay. Biological effects. Now this paper is 106 pages, and most of those pages are filled with the effects. Psychological effects, biological effects, physical effects, mental effects. And let's go to here, the outline. Okay, so the reported biological effects: heating of organs, whole body, temperature regulation defects, skin gets heated, bone and bone marrow, the lens of the eyes, cataracts increased a whole lot, Yeah. Genitalia, brain gets heated, sinuses get heated. You have metal implants, burns near the pins. Changes in physiologic function. The hotspot is different from the phone. I don't know how yet.